House Republicans are at what is supposed to be a policy retreat right now in Florida, but yet again under a Trump cloud. The event was meant to focus on delivering on their policy promises. Now, though, more and more Republicans at that meeting responding to the former president's claims that he believes he's about to be indicted. This morning, Jim Jordan, who is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, going on conservative TV to say he's asking the Manhattan District Attorney to testify behind closed doors to his committee. That after Kevin McCarthy, the House Speaker, vowed Republicans would go on offense for Trump. Our great reporters are back at the table. And so let's listen to Jim Jordan. Again, Donald Trump says he expects to be indicted and arrested this week. We don't know if that's going to happen. We're waiting. But already Jim Jordan says to the Manhattan District Attorney, I want to talk to you behind closed doors for an interview.
President Trump announced he was going to run for president again. And suddenly here they go. Now they're coming after him for some alleged bookkeeping error. You've got to be kidding me. So we want to know what kind of federal involvement may have taken place.
It's the last part. Jordan's the master at this. This is a New York, Manhattan local prosecutor. We want to know what kind of federal involvement may have taken place. Is there any evidence of federal involvement here?
Well, that was my initial question when I saw the letter, because obviously Congress generally has jurisdiction over federal issues, federal matters, but this Manhattan DA is a state official. It's a local official. So it's, Jordan's kind of putting out this wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing out in the ether. But broadly speaking, it's really remarkable how House Republicans are really using the levers of government that they have to, defend Trump as the president may or may not face this indictment this week. And I think that perhaps Speaker McCarthy feels he has no other choice. We saw how reliant he is on that Trump flank to keep his speakership, but it really is a new level what is going on here.
And that's what makes it so interesting. If you're Jim Jordan, you got a very reliably Republican district, so this is safe for you, right? Standing up for Donald Trump is actually good for you back home. Kevin McCarthy, as you note, is dependent on that right flank that made him Speaker, including Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll get to her in a minute. But interestingly, Kevin McCarthy says, we want to investigate the investigator. We will use our power to look into what's happening here. But he did make one distinction from Trump. Trump, in one of his posts over the weekend, said he wanted his supporters to protest. Kevin McCarthy says, please don't.
I don't think people should protest this, no. And I think President Trump, if you talk to him, he doesn't believe that either. We want calmness out there. Nobody violence or harm to anything else.
That is a key distinction born of memories of January 6th, no matter how much House Republicans want to whitewash it, and the idea that if it gets violent or protests, that might hurt the party.
Yes, I mean, that exactly is born out of the memory of January 6th. We saw what happened there as Trump helped fan the flames, and many of his allies did. And here we have Republicans saying, pump the brakes a little bit. We have 18 or so House Republicans who are in districts won by Biden, right, where that kind of rhetoric, that kind of fiery rhetoric doesn't necessarily play as well with voters there. And so, this is the kind of tricky line Republicans are going to have to walk on this.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, key to Kevin McCarthy's speakership, she was asked over the weekend, people were saying, Trump didn't say peaceful protest. He said protest. And she said, of course he meant that. Americans have the right to assemble and the right to protest. Trump doesn't have to say peaceful for him to mean peaceful. Of course he means peaceful. She's not opposed to protests.
No, she's not. And I mean, for Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's one of the staunchest Trump allies in the House, and she's defending him and defending the right to protest and defending his calls to protest. I just find it so interesting that House members, that wink Sung Min was talking about, because it's that wink of, looking into the weaponization of the federal government, but in the process, weaponizing the federal government to defend former President Trump. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene are all for that, but also all for Trump's calls for whatever happens in the streets, of course, but giving themselves plausible deniability should anything become violent.
Now, if the House Republicans proceed with this, they sent the letters to Alvin Bragg. We'll see how the case plays out. We'll see how the Congress plays out. Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, says Democrats will participate and push back as aggressively as possible. But listen here, this is Mark Kelly, Democratic senator from Arizona, just reelected. So he's got a 6-year term. Not a lot to worry about in the short term. He says this is dangerous for the Manhattan prosecutor.
I would hope that if they brought charges that they have a strong case because this is, as you said, it's unprecedented. And, there's certainly, risks involved here. But again, nobody in our nation is or should be above the law.
Very careful there. Nobody's above the law, very clear about that. But a Democrat from a purple state, again, even though he's got 6 years before he has to go back before the voters, essentially saying, please be careful here.
Right. And it'd be interesting for him to elaborate on what risks mean. Like, there certainly could be political risks for Democrats here. Perhaps not, because, again, this is unprecedented. It is the indictment of a former president. You know, it comes at a time when Republicans were already turning from the party. But obviously, you know, just physical risks as well. And hopefully, you know, things remain calm, and that remains the case.
Right, and the key to that is we wait. We wait the news. Again, Donald Trump saying he expects to be indicted and arrested tomorrow. We do not know that. We will watch the investigation play out in Manhattan. Up next for us.